so it's time to put all of the rules and laws about exponents that we have learned in the previous video into practice. I have, I think, 8 or 5, maybe a little bit more practice problems for you. Some of them are more difficult than others. Some of them are fairly simple, but all of them will get you ready for all types of quizzes, homeworks, tests, finals, midterms. Basically, anything that has to deal with exponents, you will have a chance to practice in this video. Let's start with a few simple examples, and then we're going to move to more advanced examples that I took out from a college algebra final. So if you're interested in more challenging problems, probably that's the video for you. But let's start with the basics. So in all of those problems, the objective is to simplify as much as possible by applying all of the exponents rules that we have learned. So in this case, let's see how many bases that are the same we have. So 1a, 2nd a, and 3rd a, and only 1b. So since all of the bases are the same, that means I can basically add all of the exponents. So I have 6 plus 2 plus 3, that's 11. So I have a to the 11, and there is nothing really to be done about b to the 3rd, so it's going to remain the same. Is it in the simplest form that we can make it? Yes, it is. Okay. So this one is somewhat tricky because you can actually simplify some things before applying any of the rules. We can see that when we divide a squared by a, we get rid of this a and the square power. So we just have a to the first. So let me write it out. It's going to be a to the power of 1, and then b to the power of 5 minus 3, which is a times b squared. Is it in its simplest form? Yes, it is. We can move on to the second example. Okay, so here we have a second power that's negative. So first, let's apply the negative and then apply the second power. If you're comfortable enough doing it at the same time, knock yourself out. But at this point, I want you to get as much practice as possible so you don't make any silly mistakes on your tests. Okay, so applying the negative is basically flipping the fraction, right? Creating the reciprocal. So I'm going to put y to the 3rd on the top, x on the bottom, and now that's squared. All we have to do now is apply that second power. Now when we put power to a power, we multiply, right? We don't add because we don't have the same basis. So it's going to be y to the power of 3 times 2, which is 6, divided by x squared. Fair enough. Once again, third example, or fourth example, is very similar to this one because we can get rid of some things before we apply any of the rules. We have x squared on the top, and on the bottom we have x. That means we can eliminate square and x, right? Because x squared is just x times x, and then divided by x. That means we are only left with 1x. So we are going to have 3x over 4a. Is there anything else to be done here? Not really. We can move on to the next example. Okay, so this one involves almost all of the rules that we have covered, besides the zero exponent rule and the fractional exponent rule. So first, let's see if we can work on simplifying anything inside the parentheses before applying this power of -2. So I'm going to switch the order. I'm going to clean it up a little bit first. So top stays the same, a to the third, b to the second, and I'm going to switch the order of this multiplication. So it's going to be a squared divided by b. And obviously, let's not forget about our exponent of -2. So you can see that we can simplify things inside the parentheses before we apply this power. So a to the third divided by a squared is simply a, and b squared divided by b is just b. So we have a times b to the power of -2. Okay, so let's apply the negative power first. So we're going to have 1 over a times b squared. And when we square different bases, we apply the exponent to all of the bases, all of the variables. So it's 1 squared is just 1 divided by a squared b squared. Done. That's the simplest form we can obtain. Okay, last one of the simple problems, or problems more on the simple side, involves basically everything we have learned besides negative exponents. So let's start with maybe cleaning it up. X to the power of 0 is just 1, and 1 times anything is just that thing. So I'm going to skip it. Or actually, you know what? Let me write it out. Let me highlight it. Is equal to 1. And then we can continue. Times b to the power of 7 and a to the power of 1/2 squared. Now you might be tempted to write this one out. Let me put it in color. Write this one out as square root of a, right? But look at this exponent. That's 2. We are going to multiply it by 1/2. 1/2 times 2 is simply 1. And a rule of thumb to remember, whenever you square a square root, that just becomes the number underneath the radical. Just something to keep in mind. Okay, so let's apply the second power to all of the things inside parentheses. So b to the power 7 squared is b to the power of 7 times 2, which is b to the power of 14. And we already covered that. That's simply a, and that's the simplest form. That wasn't too bad, was it?